Hello, I'm here with Virgin Radio, head of the Oasis reunion tour, talking to those associated or inspired by the band. Today I'm joined by James Walsh from the band Starsailor. Thank you for speaking to me. How are you?
No problem. Good, thank you.
So it's coming up to the band Starsailor's 25th anniversary. Did you think you'd be here after so many years?
To be honest, no. I think it's you don't imagine yourself kind of still hitting the stage well into your 40s. So yeah, I think it's it's an achievement that we're proud of to kind of been able to last this long.
You're very young when you started the band, weren't you?
Yeah. I was 20 when we got signed, so it was. It feels like yesterday, and it feels like a million years ago at the same time.
And how do you look back on your career now? Is it just fond memories? You've been lucky enough to be able to do what you love for so many years.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I enjoy it more now. I think I appreciate it more now, whereas there's a sense of, especially when you're young as well, you feel like you're on a journey that's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger and better and better. And especially, like you say, kind of being inspired by bands like Oasis and The Verve and Blur, all these amazing acts who that essentially happened to. It didn't. So it can be quite tough when you realise that to get signed and to tour and to make records like we did is a massive achievement in itself. But I think sometimes when you're young and you've got an ego, you think, oh, why aren't we? We've played the theatres, why aren't we moving to arenas, and why aren't we moving to stadiums? It's like that. It doesn't always work out that way, and I think, like I say, now with the benefit of hindsight, you're just more appreciative of the career that you have managed to have, and not so jealous or upset about the career that you didn't have.
And does it feel nowadays, is it more impressive when your music still resonates with audiences? Are you more impressed now, 20 years on, 25 years on, that your music's still loved by people?
Yeah, massively. And also that it's getting passed on. We've got to the age now where a lot of our fans have teenage and sort of university age children that they're bringing to the gigs, and we can see them sort of mouthing along to the lyrics as well. And I think that's always an amazing thing to see, that there is a new sort of generation, however small, of Starsailor fans kind of coming through and coming to the gigs. So hopefully the legacy will last.
Mm-hmm. And what, looking back, are those key highlights of your career that you'd pick out as being like, wow, I can't believe I actually got to do that?
We've supported so many of our heroes, REM, U2, the Rolling Stones, really amazing. The Police as well, some unbelievable moments. Played at Glastonbury, Tea in the Park. It's just incredible. I think one memory that sticks in my mind is when we played at the Stade de France with U2 and Snow Patrol. We were on first, and Four to the Floor was the number one song in France. So that was an amazing moment to kind of be able to go to such a prestigious venue with two amazing bands on as well, and have the number one in France was incredible. And another time, Michael Stipe, when we played with REM in Dublin, he actually came round to the dressing room, knocked on the door, and just said, I wanted to come and say thanks for doing the gig. And that's always resonated with me, because a lot of the other bands that we've been fortunate enough to support, they kind of keep them, which is fair enough really, they sort of keep themselves to themselves. And when you're supporting the Stones, you could have a dressing room sort of 3 miles away from theirs, whereas REM was so humble. And yeah.
So when you supported the Stones, you weren't kicking backstage with them, sharing a beer?
No, although I've met Ronnie Wood a few times since then, and I think out of all of them, he's the most kind of down to earth. Obviously, Charlie's no longer with us, and unfortunately. But yeah, Ronnie Wood's an amazing character. We managed to get him to play on one of our songs as well.
Oh, right.
Which was a pretty cool experience.
Was he just like, yeah, happy to do it? Just sort of picked out the guitar and...
He just he just came down to the studio, and I think he'd had a few beers, to be fair. And we just thought, we're not going to try and tell Ronnie Wood what to do. We'll just play the track a few times, so you just do what you do. And then it was one of those where, like, some of it, he was obviously kind of very loose and not quite in the pocket, so to speak. But then there was just enough moments of magic that you just like, how is he able to do that when he's kind of, after a few beers, it's like, I can't do anything when I've had a few too many. And yeah, like I say, we managed to get some amazing stuff out of him, and I think that's why he's had the career that he's had, is that it's just so he can do it with his eyes closed almost.
Yeah, after a few beers.
Yeah.
And Starsailor, you're still all good friends. What has kept you together after so many years? Surely on the road all the time you start to get under each other's skin.
Yeah, I think one thing is that we all kind of have quite defined roles in the band. I know that bands can have conflicts because there's more than one songwriter or lyric writer in a band, and it's like, oh, whose lyrics are going to get on the album, and we don't really have that issue because everyone in the band is primarily focused on what they do in the band and doing that to their best ability. We've got an unbelievable bass player, unbelievable drummer and keyboard player. Still the bass player, to be fair, does get involved quite a bit later on in the process with the mixing and the basically perfecting the songs and the arrangements. But I'm quite happy to hand over the reins to him at that point, because the most exciting time for me is the beginning of the process, when the ideas are first coming together. I think my problem is I get sort of quite I sort of move on to the next idea and get excited by the next thing I've started writing, when it does make sense, and it is good to have someone in the band who will stay focused on what we're doing at the time and make sure that it's the best it can be for the album. Mm-hmm. Whereas, like I say, I think if it was left up to me, there'd be like far too many ideas sort of floating around that never quite became songs, probably. So for you, democracy works in that way, of you've all got a say and you've all got your input, when other bands, as you mentioned Oasis before, it wasn't a democracy for them. No, again though, they've still, in spite of all their issues, have still managed to have an unbelievable career, like, and I think that's obviously testament to the songwriting and Liam Gallagher's vocals and the musicianship of the band through the years as well, how they've managed to kind of move with the times and get the right people in to keep going. I think I don't think tension in a band necessarily always means it has to fall apart, although it obviously did with them at a certain point, but that was after kind of years of, like I say, just unbelievable success and music. We definitely have our moments as well, like it's not plain sailing, to pardon the pun, all the time. And another Manchester band that are back out on the road this year, Oasis. Happy to see them back. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's just a nice kind of tying up of the story. I hope it doesn't sort of drag on, when you see big reunion tours and then, let's go out and do a few next year and the year after and the year after. It would be nice if it was a succinct kind of
A one-time thing.
Yeah.
Sort of like, this is the year. If you missed it, you
Maybe
missed
they
it.
could headline Glastonbury next year or something really special. But I think it would be, obviously it's up to them. It's none of our business kind of what they want to do, but I think as a fan you want it to be sort of tied up very succinctly and these shows to be an amazing success, which I'm sure they will be, and then it's like, okay, we've given this new generation of Oasis fans a taste of what we're all about, and I think we'll call it a day.
And they were a huge influence for you growing up.
Yeah,
Absolutely massive.
Oh yeah, again, sort of unavoidable. I was at Empress Ballroom in Blackpool when Oasis, when they'd first released, might have even been on the day of release of What's the Story, Morning Glory. I went with my brother to the Main Road gig. So yeah, they've always been a big influence on me, and you could sense as well that these bands, like even big bands like Blur and Pulp and Supergrass, they felt very much still like music fans, music kind of thing. You had to read the NME to really be into them. And Oasis were the first band where I noticed a massive crossover. Maybe it's because Oasis were our sort of northern band, and maybe that was happening more with Blur down south. There was a huge crossover with like all your mates who were into football, and into like DJs and dance music and stuff, were suddenly massively into Oasis.
Why do you think that is? What has given them the crossover appeal that other bands of that time don't have?
Well, I guess they eventually got there as well. Like obviously Blur and Pulp and Supergrass were huge in the end as well. But yeah, from my personal experience, I think it's probably just there was a sort of aggressiveness to Oasis, and something more relatable to people who maybe saw music as something as some sort of like you're either into music or football, and music is like the antithesis to the football fan kind of. And Oasis managed to merge those two worlds, and I guess the sort of loaded culture as it was, and I think it's one of those things as well where it became such a huge cultural thing that it's no reflection on them as people, or I'm not saying for 1 second that they're sort of subscribed to all that sort of culture or that kind of thing, but once someone decides that's what you represent and that's how things are going to coalesce around you, then it gets out of your control, really.
And has that helped it endure in a way? Because even the sing-along anthems of Oasis are sort of can be compared to the sing-alongs of the Terraces and football. Is that how they've kept them alive for 25 years, 30 years since their debut album?
Yeah, I think so. I think I think it's Noel's always had this knack of just writing unbelievably catchy songs that still have a depth to them, still have an emotional heft to them. It's quite an amazing thing. That I guess the only example before then that had that sort of massive crossover appeal was the Heroes, the Beatles.
Of course. And when you went to record your debut album, you recorded it at Rockfield Studios in Wales, where Oasis recorded What's the Story. When you walked into that studio, did you feel it in the walls? Did you sort of feel the history? Was this a great moment?
Yes, loads of our heroes have recorded there, like the Charlatans, and I think our drummer's a massive Queen fan, so he was like all over the Bohemian Rhapsody connections. And yeah, I've watched all the documentaries about the making of the Oasis albums, and just some. What I think is remarkable as well about these records is that these sort of timeless songs, obviously there's some issues of sort of mixing of Definitely Maybe back in the day, but a lot of these timeless songs, like Liam would be down the pub and then turn up kind of when the song's almost finished and just deliver this unbelievable vocal, and he'd only need like 1 or 2 takes and that'd be it. It's like it's amazing to me that people expect, like you hear like about some of the Beatles songs and how long they took to craft and master, and these Oasis songs that have lasted the decades, some of them like he's just sort of turned up and delivered. And I think that's testament to his ability as a vocalist, and just because when you have something that an essence and a what's the word, like it's not quite Virgil van Dijk, but a sort of aura about you, where you just sort of open your mouth and he can't help but be Liam Gallagher, and I think it's an unbelievable talent and something that does seem like it comes with ease sometimes.
Well, you've crossed paths with him, I'm sure, plenty of times over the years. Yeah. Does he have that aura in person?
Yeah, definitely. I think he's calmed down a bit as well. He's like he's obviously really happy in his sort of personal life, and he was really happy kind of tour. He's sort of proved himself on his own now as well. He's released some great songs and albums, and I think that was obviously a huge point of conflict, was like, who is Oasis? Is it, there'd be nothing without Noel, there'd be nothing without Liam. That's, as brothers, that's obviously gonna sort of rankle, and when, like you say, it can feel like there's not enough democracy in the band, but because he's gone out and headlined the O2 a few times on his own and done Nebworth and stuff, there's no question that Liam's a great artist in his own right, as much as Noel is. He's gone off and done his High Flying Bird, so I think that's definitely calmed him down a bit, and he just seems like just a much more placid sort of character, who obviously is still prone to have his moments, but only if something seriously rankles him. I don't think he's necessarily this sort of character that's out to fight the world that he maybe used to be.
But you felt that at one point. You had a famous spat with them. Yeah. Is that all brushed under the carpet now? Over the bridge? Yeah,
to be honest, I haven't seen Noel since, or not in terms of being able to speak to him, but I've met Liam a few times, and yeah, he's been fine. He's played a gig with the Stone Roses that he came down to and sort of shook his hand, and we did a show with Liam and the band in Turkey, and they were staying at the same hotel. I think it's just like I say, it feels like he's kind of got the right people around him, and he's not bothered about what anyone thinks of him, and I think that he seems a lot more relaxed. And that the thing at Tea in the Park was funny, because Noel had just been slagging us off in the press, so I was just walking past and I saw him and I thought, I'm gonna have a word with him about this. I can't remember exactly what I said, but it's something along the lines of why are you slagging us off, kind of thing. And then they decided to take us up with it after we'd played. We was in the same sort of dressing room maybe they were headliners. They had a like separate dressing room area, and just came in. It's like, right, let's have it then, kind of thing. It's like, yeah, it wasn't really what I meant. I was just wanted to like, was a bit upset really because I'm a massive Oasis fan, still am, and you don't want to kind of feel their wrath. Or not feel their wrath, but you don't imagine that someone whose music's kind of inspired you is really sort of disparaging about your band and what you represent. But I think it's just one of those things. Like, yeah,
You weren't the first or the last to get that in the press.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it was part of their appeal again, part of their image. But will you be going to see them in their reunion tour? You hoping to get a ticket or hoping to catch a bit of the show?
Yeah, it's one of those things where I think I did sort of register to join the sale or whatever and the pre-sale, and but I just wasn't dedicated enough to kind of sit there for hours and hours and like obviously see the price of the tickets ratchet up as well. And having been fortunate enough to have seen them back in the day, I feel like I want to give that opportunity to give that sounds a bit grand, but like I think that opportunity should be given to fans who didn't have that luxury. And I've seen some disparaging things said about young fans and how if you can't name all 14 B-sides or whatever, you shouldn't be going to the gig. And it's like, no, that's exactly who should be going to the gig. Someone who's gonna sing the heart out, and like as in the sort of younger fans who are gonna bring that enthusiasm and that excitement of seeing this phenomenon that they've only kind of dreamt of and heard of in the flesh. I think that's going to be a lot more exciting and create a lot better atmosphere than kind of a load of sort of lager louts who, like I say, have memorised the lyrics to 14 B-sides and don't have the energy to sort of scream and shout anymore. Although I don't want to sort of it should be welcome to all those kind of people, but there shouldn't be any sort of gatekeeping, I don't think.
And then going back to you, I just got to ask out of pure curiosity, you worked with Phil Spector famously.
Yeah.
Obviously a wild figure and a legendary figure in music, but also for just the story and its sort of sad ending. He produced your hit Silence Is Easy. How did you begin working with him, and then how did it end up turning into the sort of the farce?
It was a radio plugger who from the record label who was friends with his daughter, and he sort of floated the idea and he was just chatting about her dad and like, is he still listening to new music? And apparently he'd heard of us and he liked what he'd heard, maybe because his daughter had sort of played him some of the songs. And then this opportunity just cropped up. He's like, yeah, I'll be up for working with them. And then the first sort of couple of the label were a bit reticent because they're like, on the one hand he's a legendary figure and that's definitely going to bring focus to the album, but on the other hand he's not worked for a long time. It's a bit of a risk. So we set up these like trial days, or the label set up these trial days, which went really well, and we got Silence Is Easy and White Dove out of these days and booked to finish the album at Abbey Road a few months later. And those sessions were not as successful. And yeah, you just could tell that he wasn't all there, and he was heavily medicated, and there's just a sort of a clash between I think he kind of expected a bit more from us as well. Like we were used to working with producers who were more weirdly enough, because he's kind of known as a disciplinarian. We were used to working with producers who would guide us a bit more. At that, we've learnt a lot more over the years, but at that time it's like, we're just going to turn up and play our songs, so you need to tell us where to stand and what you think the arrangement should be. And I think he expected that we'd be more disciplined ourselves, and he could just sort of hit record and set mics up where he wanted, and he got frustrated that we weren't we were these sort of young lads who were waiting for instruction instead of taking more initiative ourselves. He famously said that a couple of the lads were more interested in playing PlayStation. So yeah, it just didn't work out. And he had us working weird hours as well. Like he wouldn't adapt to UK time, so I just had a kid as well, so that was taking its toll. We were starting off work at sort of 6 in the evening and working all through the night instead of a normal day. You've got your sort of newborn kid, for my daughter Neve, for all the day, and then going into the studio after that would definitely take its toll.
Of course, yeah.
But yeah, it's a difficult thing to talk about, obviously, with what happened subsequently, and which just puts a huge dark cloud over kind of what went on, and it's hard to talk about someone who's kind of capable of that in positive terms. Like, yeah, but it's still a subject that kind of fascinates people, and I understand that aspect of it.
Of course. And going forward, you released an album last year. Are we going to get new Starsailor music to go coincide with your tour coming up, your 25th anniversary tour?
Yeah, we're working on some new stuff at the moment. I don't think it'll quite coincide. The only thing we've got that's going to coincide with the tour is we did a gig in Liverpool with Joe Duddle. He did these amazing string arrangements for the songs. We did it at the Tongue Auditorium, which is part of the Yoko Ono Centre. Just a one-off gig and a matinee, and we recorded the show with the string section. So we're going to release that as part of the anniversary, and then the sort of new material will be out next 2026. Yeah.
Fantastic. Really looking forward to it. James Walsh, thank you very much for joining Virgin
Cheers.
Radio.
No worries.
You can catch Starsailor on tour in the later half of 2025.
Absolutely, November.
November.
Yeah.